guys, welcome back to my Cypress automation class from zero to hero. And in this lesson we will talk about visual testing. Visual testing is needed when you want to verify that layout of your application is actually look and feel as it is expected, as it is designed. Versus functional testing, you're actually testing how end user can interact with your application and perform certain actions. So today we will talk about how you can make visual testing using Cypress. On the cypress.io, in the section of the tooling, you can find a pretty good guide on visual testing over here, which will show you the difference between functional and visual testing with pretty good examples over here. And with the solutions, what you can use for visual testing. Cypress do not have visual testing built into the framework, but you can extend these capabilities using plugins and third-party tools. So in this lesson, I will show you two examples with open source plugins and with a not open source third-party tool. So here in the tooling section, we can go here in the visual testing plugins on the Cypress. 7 options you can try how we can use visual testing. We will use today 2 examples, Cypress plugin snapshots and Percy. So let's start with Cypress plugin snapshots. So I navigate to GitHub. Let's go ahead and install this app. So what we have to do is just copy these to install our library. All right, first step is done. The next step, what we need to do is to add this ignore test files. We need to add this section into cypress.json. Where is our cypress.json? And we already have some files here to ignore. Let's just modify it. Okay, the next step, we need to update our Cypress plugin.js with these settings. Okay, let's copy this. Plugin index.js, we need to add this import with our plugin, and we need to add these settings into model exports right here. What else? Into the commands file, we need to add this import. It's Cypress support index.js. Let's go to the support Cypress index.js, and we need to add this import. Yes, I think it's it. And I remember I was exploring this plugin before and I found some issue when it was never failing snapshot comparison. I found the answers right here in this discussion that our Cypress.json also need this thing to be added. So Cypress.json, and let's add this in our Cypress.json. I think that's it. Now let's create a new test file, which we actually use for, hold on, I have a compiling error. Okay, it fixed. So let's go and create a new test file, which we will use for our visual testing. And let me copy some code from one of our previous lessons just to make it faster. All right, everything is ready. So let's see how to use this. Let's see how to use this plugin. So to match text snapshots, and this is how to match the image snapshot. So all we have to do is basically find the element that we want to assert and to match snapshot. That's it. It will create the image snapshot of this file, and the next time when we will run the test, if this image do not match, our test should fail. So let's verify this. So this is our using the grid form. Let's go back to our app, forms, form layout, using the grid. So what we're going to verify that this section of the web page is actually looks as we expected. So what we are doing is wrap. We are wrapping our first form and to match image snapshot. Well, I think that's it. So now let's try to run this thing. npx Cypress open and visual test spec.js. Okay, we're done. As you see here in the runner, snapshots match snapshot. Nothing actually happened right now because it was our first test. Let's close the runner. And we see that under integration folder, we have a new folder, image snapshots. If we open this, we see the snapshot of our section is this one, was automatically created. The interesting thing that this plugin can make a snapshots of the section of your web page that you actually want visually to test. In this example, we took using the grid NB card, we wrapped this thing and we made the snapshot only just of this section. Now let's make this test fail. So we need to change something in our app. Let's say modify this sign in button. Let's find this thing in the code based on this locator. Okay, this is our source code and this is our button. Let's just move this button a little bit to the center of the page. Going back to our app, refresh. And as you see right now, this button in the center. Now let's run this test again and see what will happen with our test. And our test is failed. We click here on the snapshot and we see the difference. When I hover over here, this plugin is showing us that our sign in button changed the location. Actual result and expected result. If this actual result is actually what we want to, we can click here on the button update the snapshot. And when we go back to our code, to our snapshots, we see that our snapshot folder was updated with new image, which is base image for the future tests for us. In case you would like to make the snapshot of the entire page, you can use this command, document to match snapshot. Okay, let's run the test. Okay, we see that we have now two snapshots, one for the section and one for the entire document. Go back to our code. We have two files in our snapshot sections, and now we have the view of our entire page, basically. So this is how this plugin works. What are the benefits of using this plugin? The benefit number one is definitely because it's free. There are possible disadvantages that you will have to keep the snapshots in your repository and that you are mixing together your functional test and visual test at the same time. And that might have some flakiness in your test. Also, if we will go back to this repository, as you see, it has 36 issues. So this is open source project and you always have to accept that problems may be possible. And if we go right here, here's the exclamation sign that is saying that currently issue when running all the tests. I didn't run all the tests, didn't test this, but definitely this plugin may have some issues and you have to keep that in mind. So the second approach, which I like more, is to use per se. Percy is a third-party tool for visual testing, which is very nicely integrating with Cypress. It's not a free tool, but it's not expensive at the same time. If we go back here, so the free version will allow you to make 5,000 screenshots per month, and paid version start with just $29 per month, which is very, very nice. And this version is more stable, and I will show you how it actually works. So we go to our application and we have to create a new project. Go back to new project, project name, let's name it NGX Cypress test. When the project is created for the first time, it doesn't have any builds, so it's saying waiting for your builds. Also, it's providing you the Percy token, which is unique value that we will use during our build, and it will provide the guidelines how to make the setup. So we are using Cypress, so let's see how to make this setup. So step one, we need to install Percy dependency into our project. So let's do this. Okay, first step is done. The next step, and we need to import Percy into the Cypress supports command.js. Cypress support commands, I think index. Yeah, index.js should be over here. What's next? And we need to import this thing into the plugins index.js. Plugins index, one more import, and this line on task Percy health check should be here as well. Okay, looks like we're done. And how to use it? Just to use cy Percy snapshot. That's pretty much it. And yeah, and we will need to use set Percy token and our token value. Percy is actually very well integrated with continuous integration server, and you have to use this service with continuous integration server. But if you run this from your shell, you will need to export the Percy token first before running any test. So let's go back here, Percy token, and we need to grab the value from our project, which is this one. Okay, and now I guess we're ready to run our test. And this is the command Percy exec -- Cypress run. But before, let's prepare our test to run. Let's copy this. So I will add a small weight over here because look, if we go to our app, when I click on any page, it takes some time to load it, like load forms layout. You see this blue line on the top over here. And Percy creating the snapshots right away, so I need to wait while our page will be loaded in the state we are expecting it. Okay, so wait and cy Percy snapshot, and let's give the name for our snapshot will be forms layouts. Okay, now let's run this guy. So we have to run this command. It starts Percy first, and then it starts running Cypress test. Okay, hold on. It will run all the tests for me. Let's run just this spec file. Okay, it's running the file. Let's go back to Percy, refresh, and Percy is waiting for the build. processing snapshots. Okay, and it found one snapshot. Let's go over here and we see our first snapshot with sign in button right here. It doesn't have any previous snapshots, so we have to click on approve to approve this snapshot as a baseline. I click approve, and in the future builds we will use this snapshot to compare with. So let me go back to our code and let's change our application back. So from 6 to 3. So I will make our button move back to where it was initially. So now it moved back, and let me run this test one more time. Going back to Percy. Third build is running. Processing snapshots. Okay, it showed as unreviewed. Go in here and we see the difference. So this was our baseline snapshots and this is the new one. And as you see, Percy is showing us what is different. That sign in button is on the different place. So if we want to approve our new snapshot as a baseline, which is, I believe, correct to be located on this side, we click here approve. And this snapshot is our new baseline. Going back to our project, and look what was actually happened in the test. Our test is passed. Even that Percy identified that our snapshot looks different, our test is passed. Why is that? Because when you use Percy, you are basically separating your functional test from your visual test. Percy is responsible for visual recognition, Cypress is responsible only for functional testing. And this is a better way to do. So you probably will ask me, okay, how will I know if my test will fail? Pretty easy. Percy has a very great integration with the GitHub and with Bitbucket, with CI servers. So during the pull request, you can set up this integration with GitHub, and if the functional Cypress test will pass, but visual test will fail, your PR will fail. And to check more details about this integration and how it works, I recommend you to watch this video on cypress.io, Cypress plus Percy, with a good demonstration how actually it is working. So let's go back to our test, and we have a new base image. So let's run our test one more time to verify that our new snapshot is the same as the previous one. So let's run it one more time. Okay, our test is done. You see our functional test is completed. It's just waiting to send details to Percy. Processing snapshots, one snapshot and no changes. So that means that we're good. And let me go back here and I show you one more thing. So this is a snapshot. And as I mentioned before, we have a Chrome and Firefox over here. So how actually Percy works? If to compare with the plugin we discussed before, which actually doing the real screenshots of your screen and comparing the difference between screenshots, Percy is not making screenshots during the test run. Percy is taking the snapshot of your DOM, of your code, and sending to Percy processing server, and they reconstruct the project on their side in Chrome and in Firefox. And then they are making snapshot, and then they are making comparison. So this is how Percy works. And that's why when you will use a Percy, you will not have any snapshots or images that you will keep in your project. Everything will be kept on the Percy side. So this is the advantages. All right, guys, so that's it. Let's quickly summarize what we learned in this lesson. Visual testing. Cypress can do that with support of the different plugins and tools. You can find the selection of the plugins on the visual testing section in the plugins. You can try different services that you may like. The advantages of open source plugins, that it is free, the disadvantage that you will have to keep the snapshots in your repository and it might be buggy and may fail. Also, disadvantage of this approach that your functional test and visual tests will be in the same test run. The second option is using services like per se. You will have to pay for this service, but the advantage that your test will be more reliable, that you will not have to keep your screenshots in your repository, and that you make in parallel verification of your functional test and your visual test. Alright guys, that's it, and see you in the next lesson.